All right. Thank you so much, Kostis, for joining us today to share a customer story on using Instruqt. So I have many questions for you, so I hope you don't mind. And let's start with some introduction question. So why don't we start by learning about Codefresh? Can you tell us about Codefresh?
Yes, so Codefresh is a company which has a product that is a combination of CI, continuous integration, CD, continuous delivery, and GitOps, and it was created specifically for Kubernetes. So unlike other solutions that are generic or they're for virtual machines, we said let's stick with Kubernetes because Kubernetes is the future, and let's create the best deployment solution there. So that's what is the product is doing. It helps you deploy applications on Kubernetes.
Okay, then I have questions about the Argo CD certification. So I understand, Kostis, you are a co-author of the first ever Argo CD certification. Maybe first tell us a little bit about Argo CD.
So Argo CD is an open source product that does exactly what I said. It helps you deploy applications on Kubernetes. And previously, people had ad hoc solutions, manual scripts, steps that you had to follow, and it was very difficult. You had failed deployments. And then Argo CD appeared and said, okay, let's do something correctly. This is the way that you should deploy applications. This is the way that you should do it. And the new idea there is that your application should be described in Git. So most developers are familiar with using Git for development code, but Argo CD says you should also describe your applications there. And Argo CD has a very simple job. It looks at what you described in Git, and then it goes to the cluster and deploys the application. Sounds simple in theory, but the impact that this tool has, if you look at the reports, it's one of the fastest growing tools in the CNCF landscape. So it's pretty important for people. So this is what Argo CD is doing.
Okay. And why do you decide to offer training and certification in Argo CD?
The answer is obvious. There wasn't any. We are the first ever. So we have too many people that are asking questions, and we always saw the same question coming up again and again and again. And we realized that instead of trying to explain to people what Argo CD is doing 1,000 times, we said, okay, let's not do that. Let's create a certification where we will educate people on Argo CD and GitOps, which is the idea that your application should be in Git. And initially we said, okay, let's find existing documentation and maybe we can improve the documentation. And we actually do that. So I'm also contributing documentation to the Argo CD project. But documentation is a bit different than having a live workspace where you can try stuff and test something that you learn. So there wasn't any either certification or training at that point in time. There was only one from CNCF, which was for GitOps, but not Argo CD specifically. So we said, okay, let's be the first ones that offer this and help people.
Yeah, that's great. So do people have to pay for the training and certification?
So right now it's free, but I cannot say that it will be free forever. So if you haven't tried it, go and try it right now. Right now you only need your browser. You can do it on any machine, and you can try it just by a simple registration, and you can start deploying right away.
Okay, that's so easy. So easy. So let's move on to questions regarding using Instruqt. Can you tell us why Codefresh decided to choose Instruqt to run your self-paced learning on Argo CD?
So if you do a search on Kubernetes in general, you will find a million articles that say Kubernetes is complex, it's very difficult to set up, you need to be an expert. And it's true, like using Kubernetes is easy, but setting up Kubernetes is very difficult. So the tutorials that we already found said, okay, before you need to do anything, you need to set up your working environment. And these setup instructions were really, really complex. You had to have a specific machine to do what you need and different instructions for different operating systems. And we said, okay, if we offer a certification and we ask this from people, they will spend 2 hours just to set up the environment. So we said, maybe there is an easier way. Can we have somebody create an environment for us, and not only create it automatically, but also offer it in the browser, so that as a student, I don't need to have even a powerful machine. I can do it on a simple laptop, but I can just open my browser. There is somewhere an environment, and that environment is created only for me. I can test whatever I want to test, and then that environment is destroyed. So Instruqt was the best solution for exactly this scenario, for creating environments on demand, where students can try whatever they want, and after they finish, the environments are completely discarded. So you cannot break something or tamper with the environment of another student. Mm-hmm. And Instruqt does exactly this, and this is why we chose it.
Perfect. And did you use any tool before Instruqt for this?
Yeah, we have tried some different in-house solutions. One was Gitpod, which offered something similar, but it never worked out because it was too complex. And we also looked at Katacoda, which a lot of people were using. But Katacoda, for various reasons that I don't know if it's just technical or non-technical, wasn't a good choice for us. Specifically for Instruqt, we're also very happy that it supports both people that like using a user interface, like a web user interface, or the command line. I'm talking about creating the environments themselves. Mm-hmm. So regardless, of whether you are a visual person or a non-visual person, Instruqt was there for us.
Perfect. And what are the key criteria that you have in choosing Instruqt, in the process of selecting Instruqt? Could you share that, how Instruqt meets those criteria?
Yes, so we had some very basic requirements. First of all, we wanted to support Kubernetes. Like we found other solutions that I don't even remember the names that said we don't support Kubernetes. So if you want, to use like a virtual machine or a Docker image, we can do it, but with Kubernetes we cannot do it. And Instruqt actually has a Kubernetes example right in the documentation. So we saw this and said, okay, this is where we need to go. So Kubernetes support was an essential feature that we needed. The second feature, as I said, was the capability to create things either from the UI or from the command line, and Instruqt had this. And also the easy definition of environments, like what the environment should do after it's created, how long it should stay up, what should be the checks for the exercise. So it's not like we say to the student, okay, open the environment and do whatever you want. We have some intermediate checks where we see if the progress is what we expect. And this was something that was super simple to do with Instruqt. So for these reasons, we chose Instruqt.
Okay, glad to hear that. How long did it take for you to roll out your courses on Instruqt?
It was like the typical case with development. The first track that we created was really, I wouldn't say hard, but it took some time until we understood all the documentation, all the capabilities of Instruqt. Then the second one took less time, the third one less time, and then at the end we just, duplicated the track, changed it a bit, and this was easy. I wouldn't say it was too much time. We spent most time creating the examples themselves than actually putting the examples in Instruqt. And this is always a good thing, because it means that the environment is something that you have solved, and you can focus on the content and the educational aspect of the people, like what they should learn out of this course instead of how to set up this course.
Yes. So I understand that you launched the Argo CD training and certification in January this year. So till date, could you share how many people have already started the labs with you?
So you're actually lucky, because I think yesterday there was a tweet that 1,000 people had passed the certification, they had finished.
That's a great
but I believe,
milestone.
I think maybe 2,000 or 3,000 have started. Not all of them have finished. Some people stopped in the middle. Maybe they didn't like it, or they thought it wasn't for them. But 1,000 people have finished and have the certificate. Like they have the knowledge that we want them to have, which I think it's a good number. 1,000.
Yeah, that's a good number. Yeah, definitely. And what feedback have you received from your learners so far?
So we have a feedback form at the end where after they finish, we ask what they liked, what they didn't like, how we can improve. And there are some comments that are focused on the content itself, like they wanted more stuff. But a lot of the comments are actually talking about Instruqt. Like we don't mention it's Instruqt, but they say the live exercises are the best. The setup was very easy. I like that I didn't have to set up something on my workstation and then try to uninstall it, but I could do it right away. And also, a lot of people liked the fact that the environment was in the browser. So not only the environment was dynamic, but they just needed a browser, and they can use the browser to see what is happening in all the stages of the course. So congrats to Instruqt for providing
to us. Yeah, really a great partnership with Codefresh.
Yeah,
perfect. That's very good. So maybe like as a developer advocate, in your opinion, like a learning platform like Instruqt, how does that help you to achieve your goals as a developer advocate?
I think at least for me, the primary goal is education, like educate people on something. And most people are visual learners. Like you can give them a huge document that they can read, and you don't know if they will understand something or not. But if they give them something that they can play, they can type commands, they can see the impact of their commands, they can do stuff. I think it's a better education medium. So for me, it's a way to educate people and to make sure that not only you pass the knowledge in a theoretical level, but you explain how things work behind the scenes, and you actually give hands-on experience. Especially with the certification, we had comments from people that came in and said, I already knew some stuff about Argo CD, but not all the details. That's fine. But we also had people that said, I didn't know anything before starting, and now I feel confident that I can work with Argo CD. So for me, this is the best feedback when you start from zero, and then you say, I feel confident that now I can do something, and not just a name that I know as a theory, and yeah, maybe at some time I will test it. I have tested it, I know how it works, and I have hands-on experience with this.
Fantastic. So from the sales perspective, Kostis, how do they see this training and certification of Argo CD? How does that help in the whole sales process?
I don't have specific numbers. Sales was also, happy with the certification because we could see, first of all, the impact across the community. So it was like a confirmation that Argo CD is popular, and we had numbers to show this. I guess that some of the people that started the certification, maybe they said, okay, this Argo CD tool looks interesting, so maybe can we look at the Codefresh product now, which is the commercial product. So maybe for some metrics we had an increase because some people found us from the certification, and eventually they became customers. I think it was mostly awareness about the company itself, and also placing us as, like, I wouldn't say the leaders, but some important people in the Argo CD community, because we saw that we have the knowledge to help people and to educate people. Now, if you ask me if we get 1,000 customers from there, I don't think that's the case, but I don't think it matters.
But that's not the objective also.
Yeah, that's not the objective.
Okay, so on that note, we would like to get a sneak peek of your lab. So if you don't mind, Kostis, if you could give us a very high level walkthrough of one of your labs.
So this is the Instruqt interface. I'm here as a student right now, and this is my, let's say, favorite course of all. First of all, what you see here is the Argo CD UI. So within the browser, at the top, I have a lot of tabs open, and each one of them is actually touching this magic environment that Instruqt has created for me. So I have the typical command line where I can write stuff. I also have a web interface, and in this case, I'm looking at the Argo CD installation, and the Argo CD is like a real Argo CD installation. This was very important for our students. It's not an emulation, it's not a screenshot, it's not something that looks like the real thing, it's the real thing. So behind the scenes, there is a Kubernetes cluster that was created by the student, and they didn't have to do anything. All the environment versions are locked down, so we know exactly what is running. There are no incompatibilities. We don't need to tell the student you need to have this particular version of something or hardware. And not only we install Argo CD itself, but here there are some example applications. So this is an application that we have installed with Argo CD, and the student can go in the user interface and drill down and see exactly what is happening. There is also a very fancy integrated editor. So apart from the terminal, let's say I want to edit something. This is also provided by Instruqt, and you can see it's a smart editor because it has syntax highlighting, and I can change stuff here and do something different. And also there is the application itself. So this is an application that I have deployed, and you can see it's in version 1. And on the right, we have all the instructions that the student must follow in order to achieve something. So here we say to the student, take this command and go and paste it and run it and do something, and then we continue. And at the end, there is this magic check button that checks if the student has done everything. And the important thing here is that everything here is in the browser. You can see the deployment happen. I don't need to open 5 different windows to understand something. I don't need to jump between dashboards. I have here my terminal, here Argo CD, here the editor, here the live traffic. 4 tabs with everything I need. It's completely self-contained. And this is just a track. So after the student has finished this track, they go to another track with a different setup, and we can always change what the student needs to do without any setup on their side. They just say, hey, I'm starting a new track, and magically the new track is started.
Wow, perfect. Thank you so much for showing us. So that comes to my last question. As Instruqt is well received already for this self-paced training certification, are there other plans to use Instruqt in other parts of your organization?
So we had a lot of people from customer support, and they said that a great idea would be to use it for customers and educate customers. And also some people said we should use it for the company itself to educate new employees for onboarding. These were great ideas, but right now the certification course has been so popular that everybody said, no, let's create part 2 first. So now the company is working on part 2. That being said, I know that there is a very big company with a very well-known name in the same space that I'm not going to mention, and they use our certification for onboarding their employees when they do new hires. So for me, this is really important because it's not, how we see our own course, but how an external entity is understanding the value of the course. And if they use it for training their employees, it means that we have really succeeded. So right now we are working on part 2. There is also a part 3 at some point, and this is the focus right now. But since it's a generic educational tool, I can see several other scenarios apart from certifications.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So thank you so much, Kostis, today for spending your time with us this afternoon and sharing your experience using Instruqt. Really delighted to hear the feedback from you as a customer and also your customers. Really excited about that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for creating Instruqt.